me your full name.
Caroline Keys.
And we're at the Covenant House today. Can you tell me what you do here?
What I do specifically? Okay, so I'm the volunteer coordinator and the development assistant, and then I just am the jack of all trades, taking care of all the things that need done, all the random things that the kids need, that our director needs, that our staff, don't think they need but actually need. So all of that in between stuff too.
How did you come to work here?
I applied on a whim. I did not know what it was. It was originally listed as a development assistant position, and I applied. I worked at the Children's Museum in college. I have a lot of writing experience and have a degree in communications, so I thought, oh, that's really fun. Like, I'm going to do fundraising and marketing and blah, blah, blah. Not having any idea how involved the position would be, which I think is just the nature of having a job where you work on the same site as the kids.
What's that like?
It makes you feel a lot more connected to the mission. I don't think I would have been here for almost 2 years had I not worked on site with the kids, because you're more passionate and it makes you feel the urgency that they have to get help and get shelter, and it makes you want to do more faster and better.
Can you remember a time where you met a specific child or have a story that you felt really kind of laminated your passion for being here?
I don't know if it's like one person specifically. I feel like I have, kind of like mentoring relationships with a lot of our residents. We don't really, as a practice, consider ourselves friends with them, obviously, because we're in different places and we do have to maintain a level of professionalism with them. So I think I interact with them on a more social basis. I don't act as an instructor or a case manager. If ever I need them, it's to help me carry some donations in, or they, are having a quick meeting or something like that. So I think my relationship with them is like seeing them in small chunks, and they always are very positive when that happens, but then you see the downside of kids that aren't doing so well, and I don't know, for me it just makes me realize every day how much they need all of us, even though like you can feel insignificant at times, but then you see like, okay, the need truly is here.
Have you seen any of them after they have, is the appropriate term graduated the program?
Yes, we say graduated the program.
How the Covenant House came to be and where it started, do you know its origins?
So we started in New York in the 70s. It was founded by a priest who wanted to be one with the people, and he wanted to provide housing for those that were young and homeless and scared and didn't have a place to go. So we started in New York, and it really quickly grew, obviously, because we realized how many homeless kids there are in the world and in the country. So New York specifically is where our current executive director, Jim Kelly, came on, initially as a volunteer. Then he became a full-time employee in New York. That's when they experienced massive expansion in the early to mid-'80s, and they realized, okay, there's not just homeless youth in New York, there's homeless youth everywhere. Where can we make that expansion? Where can we go? So we were actually the second location to open, and then obviously there were a bunch opening right around the same time as us. So Jim, our director, actually made the decision to come down here and be our initial founding opening executive director. We opened Christmas Day of 1986, so roughly 1987 was when we really started kicking things off, and we've been in this location ever since.
And what population are you serving?
We serve homeless, runaway, and at-risk youth ages 16 to 22. We also serve babies and toddlers if young moms and young dads come in.
And what services do you provide for those populations?
So we try to be as full service as possible. The goal of coming to Covenant House would be to give them the tools to be independent in the future. So that's mental health counseling, job readiness and job placement, school, working, towards high school or college or whatever, maybe it's a training or a vocational program. We work on life skills. I don't remember if I said mental health, but it's very much so a huge part of what we do. We really try to cover the entire package because it's something that we all had help with and our residents do not. So we want to make sure that they have every aspect covered, not just, oh, I have a job, I'm getting money in my pocket, I'm good to go now.
Right.
Maybe
What
not.
is addiction a problem that you also have to work with?
We don't see severe addiction too often. We are not a drug treatment facility in that we don't have the tools and the staff to deal with severe drug addiction. So we do send them to Bridge House and Grace House if someone's dealing with something very serious. They just have the tools and the resources for that. A lot of our kids do come in having used drugs or are still using drugs or smoking marijuana, whatever. We do bag checks every day when they come in and out as a way to monitor them. We don't do drug tests because we don't want the kids to feel like we don't want them, it can be kind of an invasion for them, and we try to be really non-judgmental. The main thing that we try to remind them is pretty much every job you get these days is going to drug test you. So if you can't pass a drug test, you can't maintain a job. If you can't maintain a job, that means you're not maintaining the structure of Covenant House's program. So maybe it's not quite a fit for you yet.
So maybe that's the next great question to ask is, what are the boundaries for the people that stay here? So you said employment.
Right, so you have to, and we're going to help you with that. When you first come in, our main concerns are food, clothing, and shelter, because we don't know where you've been staying before. You could have been with a family member and maybe things were fine, and then, an argument broke out, or maybe you were in a violent relationship, or maybe you were physically already living on the street. We don't know. So we want to cover the bases of things that we know we can take care of immediately. Getting you a warm meal, getting you a shower, getting you to our clothing room and getting you a clean outfit, getting you to our 2-lane health clinic and getting you a psychosocial exam, and making sure that we can handle what's going on and we can take care of those, I would say, easy fixes, but the things that we know concretely, I can handle this. So we do that first. From there, they do a bunch of assessments, talking about job, school. We talk a lot about comprehension. We want to get them prepped and ready before we say they have to go job hunting. But you do have to have a plan. You have to be doing something. So whether that's job or school, you have to be doing one or both. We love both.
So what is something that could occur that a child could not stay?
Could not stay. We do get a lot of people that come that are 23, which is unfortunate. We would love to take them all, but we obviously are grant dependent, so we do have to be specific to our 16 to 22-year-old age range. If you come to us and you are lying about what you're doing, so one thing we do is employment verification. So you have a job, you work at Rouse's, right? You are going to Rouse's and you tell me, oh, my shift, I work, I'm working a double, I work 9 a.m. till midnight, so I'll be back at 12:30. Well, what if Miss Jane calls your employer once a week, which she does, to say, oh, how's everything going? Wow, they're really working a lot of doubles, and the employer says, that's not true, so what the heck are you doing until 12 or 12:30 every night? Then we're going to have a discussion, and you might be asked to leave the program. You do have to be respectful to your staff. You have to be respectful to yourself. You don't need to be running around cursing like crazy and yelling and screaming and causing a lot of disruptions, because there are a lot of other kids here that are dealing with issues as well. So we can't have one person be such a significant distraction that it would cause disruptions among the rest of our residents. We have too many residents to let that happen.
So do you have like a kitchen, and do you have resident counselors?
Yes, so we have several levels of programming. Our first level is the crisis center. So that is the first stop for anybody that comes to Covenant House, and it's full service. So we're talking cafeteria with 3 meals a day. Everyone has a case manager. You are really not having to worry about anything except furthering yourself in school and work and focusing on your mental health. We've essentially covered everything else. From there, we've got a long-term housing program on site. That's a little more free form. You cook and clean for yourself. You don't really have a curfew, but we do expect you to be in school and working. And then we have off-site apartments, which is kind of a third step. So from there, we offer you assistance with rent for a set period of time. We, taper it down slowly. So that's kind of how we operate. So we start with very full service, and we wean you off slowly. Because if it was any other kid, if it was me, my parents would not kick me out when I was 18. I mean, I graduated college. My parents still didn't, they're not just going to say, figure it out. We've washed our hands of you. So we wouldn't do that either.
We were talking to a child outside,
Okay.
a young man, I shouldn't say child, and he said that you guys also help them start like a savings account,
Yes.
like you help them manage their money.
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, a lot of our kids come in dealing with identification issues. We don't require you having any ID when you come to Covenant House, but obviously you need it to get a job. You need an ID, you need a social, you need a birth certificate. Getting one, like say you come in and you don't have one, like, oh, my mom threw away my social, or I have bounced around in foster care so much I have no idea where my birth certificate is, can be very complicated. So getting those pieces together can be a really time-consuming process. It can hinder things like getting a job, getting your own bank account, in a normal like Chase Bank or whatever. So we are the bank. And we're happy to do that because it's easier for our kids. It also doesn't let them feel like they have a bunch of money burning a hole in their pocket. So when they stay in the crisis center, they do have to save 80% of their paycheck. But again, the idea is they're not having to pay for anything. So what do you need all that cash for? And then you save 40% when you're in rites of passage, which is our on-site long-term housing. By that point, we're typically to the point where we've gotten you the identification that you need, and we could start thinking about getting you your own bank account. So we kind of work from there. Each kid is different, but yeah, the savings account on site is really beneficial.